In Chapter 3, we analyze the main actors in the EU's foreign policy making system. We examine in detail their internal functioning as well as their contribution to EU foreign policy. In this video, we focus briefly on the main institutions and on their main features, which helps to better understand the complex nature of EU foreign policy making. A first institution is the European Council, which brings together the heads of state and heads of government of the 27 member states and the president of the European Commission, and which is chaired by a permanent president. The European Council is de facto the center of gravity of power within the EU. If not legally, then at least politically or symbolically, where policy-making lines from different policy areas and from all member states come together. The European Council provides strategic leadership, it takes the main decisions in EU foreign policy, and it also serves as the main crisis management forum, for instance in determining the EU's response to the Russian invasion in Ukraine. The European Council always decides with unanimity, which means that all 27 heads of state and heads of government have to agree in a consensual way. As a result, the outcomes of European Council meetings, the so-called European Council conclusions, are often characterized by constructive ambiguity. And it also explains why the European Council is not always able to provide the strategic leadership that is needed, as the leaders of the member states will first and foremost defend their national foreign policies and act on the basis of their domestic concerns.
Another institution is the Council of the European Union, which consists of the ministers of foreign affairs of the member states or sectoral ministers from the member states. And the main council configuration for foreign policy is the Foreign Affairs Council, which deals with CFSP, CSDP, external trade, development cooperation, humanitarian aid and international agreements. And it brings together the foreign ministers of the member states together with the responsible members of the European Commission, and it is chaired by the High Representative. When defense or development cooperation is on the agenda, then meetings are also attended by the ministers of defense or of development, and when the Foreign Affairs Council discusses trade policy, then the trade ministers will participate. The Council is the main decision-making body for CFSP and CSDP, as it formally controls all stages of policymaking, from issue definition to decision-making, implementation and control, which in fact ensures that CFSP and CSDP remain completely under control of the member states, which is important for them. And this is not the case with regard to the EU's external action or the external dimension of internal policies. The Council is still an important institution, but it also is embedded in that context within a broader institutional setup, including also the European Parliament, European Commission and the Court of Justice of the European Union.
This brings us to the European Commission, which, as a supranational institution, finds itself in a particular position in the EU's foreign policy-making apparatus. On the one hand, the European Commission plays a crucial role in defining and representing the common interests in the EU's external action and in the external dimension of internal policies. In these fields, the European Commission has the exclusive right of initiative. It conducts negotiations on behalf of the EU with third countries and in the context of international organizations, and it plays an important role in implementing decisions. Here the Commission can also rely on a robust administrative and budgetary apparatus and on strong EU competences, which also explains why some commissioners, for instance the Trade Commissioner, have a strong position in the Commission. On the other hand, the Commission largely stands at the sidelines in the CFSP and CSDP. And this raises questions on how a coherent EU foreign policy can be developed across the different facets, CFSP, CSDP, external action, the external dimension of internal policies, in view of the different responsibilities and roles of the Commission and the Council.
And it is precisely to tackle this problem that a specific function has been created. The High Representative of the Union for Foreign Affairs and Security Policy, who is also one of the Vice Presidents of the European Commission, or in short, High Representative / Vice President or HRVP. And when this function was created, the aim was to bridge the Council and the Commission at the political level. And it indeed contributed also to increasing the coherence of the EU's foreign policy. However, as we explain in our chapter, the function of High Representative Vice President suffers of several major structural flaws. First of all, as is correctly emphasized in the title, the High Representative indeed only represents the Member States and the foreign policy defined by the Member States within the Council or the European Council. And he or she can thus only act if and as far as the Member States manage within the Council or European Council to indeed agree on a foreign policy. Secondly, the High Representative Vice President is one of the Vice Presidents of the Commission, but in this position he or she has a much more limited power than the other commissioners who can rely on stronger competences in their policy fields, such as in trade, or who also have larger budgets, such as the commissioners responsible for neighbourhood and enlargement or international partnership. The High Representative Vice President leads the European External Action Service and more or less 140 EU delegations in third countries or towards international organizations. And together these form the EU's diplomatic service, including staff from the Commission and also from Member States, where they make sure that some of their diplomats are seconded to the EU. The European External Action Service and the EU delegation indeed help to bridge the Council and the Commission and the Member States at the diplomatic and also the operational levels, but they suffer from the same ambiguities and structural constraints as the HRVP.
Finally, in Chapter 3, we also discuss the growing role of the European Parliament and of the Court of Justice of the EU, which are particularly important in the EU's external action and its external dimension of internal policies. And we also pay attention to a range of other actors, such as specialized agencies or civil society organizations and the business sector, which all together form the complex foreign policy making system of the EU.